AM5 motherboard refresh season is well and truly upon us. For today's video, we'll be taking a look at a new flagship AM5 motherboard from ASUS that's targeted at high-end, white-colored AMD AM5 PCs, the ASUS ROG CROSSHAIR X870E GLACIal. Sporting support for the current Ryzen 9000 series of processors, the Ryzen 8000 series of APUs and CPUs, as well as the older Ryzen 7000 series of CPUs. This board will in all likelihood also support AMD's next generation Zen 6 processors that have yet to be released. Let's take a closer look at this board to see if it's any good. To recap, AMD launched its Zen 5 Ryzen 9000 series of processors back in August 2024 and the high-end X870E and X870 chipsets for the AM5 platform in end September 2024. January 2025 then saw the arrival of AMD's mid-range and entry-level 800 series chipsets in the form of the B850 and the B840. With the above in mind, like other major motherboard manufacturers, ASUS has been busy refreshing its lineup of AM5 motherboards, and we recently saw announcements about the brand's new Neo lineup of X870E, X870 and B850 motherboards for the premium and mainstream demographic, alongside new flagship boards such as the ROG CROSSHAIR X870E GLACIal that we have here today, and the black version of this board, the ROG CROSSHAIR X870E Dark Hero. The reason for these motherboard refreshes, this is so that end users can enjoy the latest motherboard features ahead of the arrival of AMD's next generation Zen 6 processors that are almost certainly going to be on the AM5 socket. These refreshes come with much needed improvements to the whole lane sharing situation that we have with the first wave of X870E and X870 motherboards, where lane sharing between the primary PCIe 5.0 X16 slot for a graphics card and a second PCIe 5.0 X4 M.2 drive is now no longer a thing. And I'll talk more about this later on in the expansion slots and the storage section of this video. Now, the ROG CROSSHAIR X870E GLACIal that we have right here, as its name implies, sports the X870E chipset and sits within the ROG CROSSHAIR series of flagship motherboard offerings at the high end, where it places above the ROG Strix, ProArt, Tough Gaming and Prime series of motherboard offerings by ASUS. As a white-colored motherboard offering, no surprises that the board comes in a white-colored box with the ROG logo emblazoned on the front, and over on the rear of the box, we get another stylized variant of the ROG logo for good measure. On a side note, if you're new to the ALK Tech channel, do consider subscribing so as to keep up to date with the latest product releases in the PC hardware world. With that, let's have a look at the contents of the box. Just to put it out there, the box is really hefty, and opening it is quite the experience, where ASUS has helpfully included some graphics on how some of the board's quality of life features are supposed to work. Removing this cardboard divider with foam, we get access to the X870E GLACIal, which we'll set aside for the moment. We get a drawer of sorts right beneath where the motherboard's placed, where we get multiple segments of accessories. Underneath this first segment, we get a ROG Q-DIMM.2 module that adds a PCIe 4.0 X4 M.2 slot and a PCIe 4.0 X2 M.2 slot via the motherboard's proprietary Q-DIMM.2 slot. We'll take a closer look at this module later on in the storage section of this video. Beneath it, we get a ROG Hyper M.2 add-on PCIe card. Now this card adds two PCIe 5.0 X4 M.2 slots. We'll also talk more about this card later on in this video. Over in this section, we get two spare M.2 Q-slide attachments that are to be used for the two onboard M.2 slots that don't have it pre-attached. We also get an ASUS Q connector that simplifies the process of hooking up your front panel connectors to the motherboard. Moving on, we get 5 pieces of thermal pad extensions that are to be used should you be installing M.2 drives in the 22-110 form factor. And these are accompanied by 7 pieces of M.2 rubber pads that are to be used to add additional support for single-sided M.2 drives. Rounding things off in this section is a ROG logo plate sticker. On to the next section. We get a ROG Memory Q fan that's used to cool your DDR5 memory modules. We'll take a closer look at this fan later on in this video. Finally, in this section here, we get an individually numbered ROG VIP card. And this is accompanied by a very hefty aluminium bottle opener right here. Beneath these two accessories, we get a whole bunch of other accessories, starting first with 4 SATA cables that feature a premium looking braided design. And these are accompanied by a 1:2 ARGB splitter cable. We do also get a 1:4 ARGB splitter cable like so. A Wi-Fi Q antenna, two 1:3 fan splitter cables, as well as 2 spare circular magnets. This board comes with panels that are held in place magnetically, and we'll take a closer look at these said panels shortly. Documentation wise, we get a quick start guide right here. And this is accompanied by a web storage promotional leaflet. To round things off, we get a sheet of ROG stickers as well. Onto the board itself, we see that ASUS has gone for a properly white and silver aesthetic. It looks like motherboard manufacturers have finally followed Gigabyte's lead when it comes to white colored motherboards, where black colored connectors and headers and hardware bits are no longer a thing, at least for the X870E Glacial that we have here. We've got plenty of metal shrouds and heatsinks all around for a very clean and premium appearance. ASUS has included white colored metal shrouds in these areas to help hide the various motherboard connectors and headers from view. And these 2 shrouds along the short edges of the board in particular are held in place by magnets, a feature that ASUS terms magnetic cover. We've also got an aesthetic cover right here that features a large 3D ROG logo that really adds a touch of pop to the motherboard's appearance. As can be seen, this aesthetic cover is held in place by magnets too, and it can be removed and reinstalled pretty easily. It's kind of a white elephant though, as this cover does obscure the primary PCIe 5.0 X16 slot that you'd be using for a graphics card. Over on the rear of the board, we see that the board comes with a full-sized metal backplate, and it certainly contributes to the heftiness of the motherboard. This being a flagship AM5 motherboard offering, ASUS has gone all out in terms of onboard bling. On the integrated I/O shield shroud, we get a 5-inch full-color LCD screen that can be customized via the ASUS Armoury Crate app, and the said panel can be shifted to the right so as to avoid being obscured by the rear exhaust fan of a typical PC case. A very thoughtful feature to have for sure. This LCD screen also provides a visual on the power on self-test process when you switch on your PC, like so. This feature will definitely come in handy for troubleshooting any PC startup issues. In terms of customizing what's displayed on the 5-inch screen, you have to head over to the ASUS Armoury Crate app, where you have the ability to select from 8 preset static images and animations, or if you're feeling creative, you can upload your own JPEG image as well. We also get a hardware information section right here, where you can select from 4 preset layout templates, and you do also have the ability to customize which hardware statistics you'd like to have displayed on the screen. For demonstration purposes, I'll go with this template with 5 sensor readouts, and let's see how it looks. The VRM heatsinks for this board are sizable, and ASUS has included whopping 24+2+2 power phases with 110 amp power stages, which is pretty overkill. For you folks intending to do a fair bit of processor and memory overclocking, it definitely helps that the ROG CROSSHAIR X870E GLACIAL uses an 8-layer PCB design. The X870E employs the use of a dual chipset design, and the said chips are located beneath these 2 rectangular silver heatsinks. Man, this sure is heatsinkception taken to the next level, given the number of shrouds and heatsinks that we've got on this board. For M.2 drive cooling, ASUS has got you covered with M.2 drive heatsinks for the 3 onboard M.2 slots that the board comes with. For memory support, the ROG CROSSHAIR X870E GLACIAL comes with 4 DDR5 slots that, as of the time of publishing this video, comes with support for up to 256GB of RAM and the DDR5 9200 standard. This being a flagship motherboard that's targeted at enthusiasts who would likely be overclocking their hardware a fair bit, ASUS has also included a cooling fan that it terms ROG Memory Q Fan. It attaches to the board magnetically, and you'll have to remove this metal shroud that covers the connector pins. In the interest of cable management and aesthetics, the X870E GLACIAL has its various headers and connectors oriented 90 degrees from their typical front-facing orientations. In terms of front panel USB connectivity, we get 2 USB 20Gbps Type-C front panel headers located along the long edge of the board, where of these USB Type-C ports, one of them supports up to 60 watts of power delivery for fast charging. Correspondingly, we get an 8-pin 2x4 12V power connector that's to be hooked up to your power supply unit should you wish to enable the said fast charging feature. We also get 2 USB 5Gbps Type-A front panel headers located further down along the long edge of the board, where each of these headers provides support for up to 2 USB 5Gbps Type-A ports for a total of 4 ports. Rounding things off in the front panel USB connectivity section are 3 USB 2.0 front panel headers located along the bottom edge of the board, with each header providing support for 2 USB 2.0 Type-A ports for a total of 6 ports. Some interesting features to highlight. Back at the top of the motherboard, we get a set of Probit voltage reading points for overclocking enthusiasts to connect a multimeter so as to get on-the-fly voltage readouts for their CPUs, memory, and such. We also get a set of condensation detection LEDs that light up when condensation is detected on your CPU, RAM, or PCIe slots, which is a feature for folks intending to do extreme overclocking with, say, liquid nitrogen. Moving on, we have a set of QLEDs that are obscured behind the aesthetic shroud, making them a little hard to see, especially from certain angles, and a Q-code LED right here. Both these features can be used to help troubleshoot PC power-on self-test issues. We also get a start button that allows end users to power on the PC, as well as a flex key button that by default serves as a reset button and can be customized from within the BIOS to perform a variety of different functions. Moving over to the bottom edge of the board, we get a LN2 mode jumper that's to be used for you folks intending to do a spot of liquid nitrogen CPU cooling for extreme overclocking purposes, as well as a pair of B-clock buttons that allow you to increase or decrease the base clock of your system on the fly, also for overclocking purposes. Next up is a BIOS switch that allows you to select between the two BIOS chips that the board comes with, as well as an alteration PCIe mode switch that allows you to change the generation of PCIe signal that originates from the CPU to Gen 4 or even Gen 3 when needed. Moving on, we get a thermal sensor header that allows you to connect an optional thermistor cable so as to monitor the temperature of devices within your PC. And further to the right, a retry button that allows you to reboot the system while retaining the same BIOS settings, a feature that will come in handy for overclockers for sure. We also get a safe boot button that forces the system to reboot into the BIOS in a safe mode while retaining your overclocking settings, and finally, an onboard storage device activity LED that lights up when data is being read or written to the storage drives of your PC built with this motherboard. In terms of expansion slots, this board comes with two fancy-looking PCIe 5.0 X16 slots, where the second PCIe 5.0 X16 slot will run at PCIe 3.0 X4 speeds if the primary PCIe 5.0 X16 slot is running at full X16 link speeds. Otherwise, you can have both PCIe 5.0 slots running at X8 mode each, as per this table that I've lifted from the motherboard manual. These two slots feature a new Q-release switch feature that makes removing expansion cards from these two slots pretty straightforward. Pushing the switch to the top disengages the retention catch for the first PCIe 5.0 X16 slot, while pushing the switch down to the bottom setting disengages the retention catch for the second PCIe 5.0 X16 slot. The center switch position locks both catches in place. Do note that PCIe 5.0 is only supported when you have a Ryzen 9000 series or Ryzen 7000 series processor installed. It's worth noting that the Ryzen 8000 series of APUs and CPUs only support the PCIe 4.0 standard, though it's really unlikely that you'd be using a Ryzen 8000 series part with this board. In the storage department, ASUS has included 4 SATA 3 ports that are all located along the bottom edge of the board. For M.2 slots, it comes with 2 PCIe 5.0 X4 M.2 slots and a single PCIe 4.0 X4 M.2 slot. Do note that all of these slots support NVMe SSDs only. M.2 SATA drives will not work in any of these slots. As can be seen, both M.2 heatsinks come with the M.2 Q-release mechanism that makes heatsink removal and installation really easy, like so. Another quality of life feature that the M.2 slots have is M.2 Q-slide, which is a mechanism that slides along a track and snaps into place so as to securely hold an M.2 device of varying lengths. The bottom two M.2 slots also feature M.2 Q-latch, which makes installing and removing M.2 drives in these slots a breeze, like so. You can also install the Q-slide attachment for these two slots for drives shorter than the 2280 form factor. A gentle reminder to remove the blue protective films for the respective thermal pads, before installing your drives. I didn't remove them in the past few minutes of footage as I just wanted to demonstrate the drive installation and removal process real quick. Now, you might have noticed that the primary PCIe 5.0 X4 M.2 slot has a chonker of a heatsink. ASUS calls this a 3D VC M.2 heatsink, where it features a vapor chamber to help keep the temperatures of toasty Gen 5 M.2 drives at bay. As mentioned earlier, this board comes with improvements to the way that PCIe lane sharing occurs. In case you're unaware, here's a quick lowdown on why we've got lane sharing on most, if not all, X870E and X870 motherboards. The X870E and X870 chipsets are effectively a rebrand of the previous generation X670E and B650E chipsets respectively, with USB 4 support made mandatory by AMD. Where given that these chipsets have pretty much the same silicon and hence a fixed number of PCIe 5.0 lanes, motherboard manufacturers have had to look elsewhere for PCIe 5.0 lanes to support the USB 4 controller. As a result of this, the first few waves of X870E and X870 boards saw the PCIe 5.0 X16 slot for a graphics card sharing bandwidth with one of the PCIe 5.0 X4 M.2 slots the X870E and X870 boards have, which isn't really ideal at all. With the later waves of X870E and X870 motherboards, board manufacturers have wisened up, and lane sharing now tends to happen just between the PCIe 5.0 X4 M.2 slot and the USB 4 controller, which in my opinion is the lesser of two evils. In the case of the ROG CROSSHAIR X870E GLACIAL, as per the table that I've lifted from the manual, the second PCIe 5.0 X4 M.2 slot M.2_2 shares lanes with the USB 4 controller, where if you've got an M.2 drive installed in slot M.2_2, both slot M.2_2 and the USB 4 controller will run at X2 speeds instead. You do also get the option of disabling the USB 4 ports altogether to get full X4 link speeds for slot M.2_2. That aside, the X870E GLACIAL comes with a ROG Hyper M.2 add-on card that adds two PCIe 5.0 X4 M.2 slots, where this card can be used in either of the board's PCIe 5.0 X16 slots to enable these two M.2 slots to run at full PCIe 5.0 X4 link speeds. Of course, in doing so, both PCIe 5.0 X16 slots will run at X8 mode each. Eagle-eyed viewers would have noticed this DIMM.2 slot located right next to the DDR5 slots. This slot is to be used in conjunction with the ROG Q-DIMM.2 add-on card, which adds an additional PCIe 4.0 X4 M.2 slot, as well as a PCIe 4.0 X2 M.2 slot. As can be seen, the DIMM.2 add-on card comes with a pretty chunky heatsink that has to be removed first in order to get access to the two M.2 slots. Again, do bear in mind that PCIe 5.0 is only supported with a Ryzen 9000 series or Ryzen 7000 series processor installed. The Ryzen 8000 series of APUs and CPUs only support the PCIe 4.0 standard. For audio, ASUS has included a high-end Realtek ALC 4082 audio codec with premium audio capacitors, as well as an ESS ES9219 quad DAC chip. Wired internet connectivity is courtesy of dual Realtek RTL 8127 10 Gigabit Ethernet chips, while Wi-Fi support is courtesy of a MediaTek MT7927 Wi-Fi 7 part that supports the full-fat 320 MHz channel width and also serves up Bluetooth 5.4 support. In the cooling and RGB departments, the board comes with 8 fan headers that are located in these areas of the board, where you can also use the included fan splitter cables so as to get even more fan headers. In addition, we've got what ASUS terms an AIO-Q connector, a new proprietary connector that's similar to MSI's EasyCon, which consolidates the 4-pin PWM fan connector, ARGB connector, as well as USB 2.0 connector that one would typically get with an AIO CPU cooler into just one connector. Also included are 2 Gen 2 addressable RGB headers located in these areas, as well as a special Gen 2 ARGB header located along the long edge of the board that allows you to use the included 1:2 ARGB splitter cable so as to get 2 Gen 2 ARGB headers. Moving over to the rear I/O, the ROG CROSSHAIR X870E GLACIAL comes with a clear CMOS button, a BIOS flashback button that allows end users to update the board's BIOS without needing to install a CPU, RAM or graphics card, 4 USB 10Gbps Type-C ports, 8 USB 10Gbps Type-A ports with this port here, supporting the BIOS flashback feature. We also get 2 USB 4 Type-C ports that support display output of up to 4K resolution at 60Hz, alongside dual 10 Gigabit Ethernet ports, Wi-Fi antenna connectors that feature the Q antenna design, and your usual audio jack connectors. To sum up, the ASUS ROG CROSSHAIR X870E GLACIAL is without a doubt a flagship AMD AM5 motherboard that has all the bells and whistles that one would expect of such a premium motherboard offering. We get a sleek aesthetic decked out with lots of heatsinks and aesthetic shrouds, and even a 5-inch full-color LCD display, a premium VRM setup, support for lots of M.2 drives, dual 10 Gigabit Ethernet ports, plenty of USB Type-C and Type-A connectivity options, along with no shortage of quality of life features such as PCIe slot Q release switch, Q slide, and so on. It also helps that lane sharing is now confined to just the USB 4 controller and the second PCIe 5.0 X4 M.2 slot, where end users get the ability to configure the type of lane sharing via the BIOS as well. Shortcomings to mention, the ROG CROSSHAIR X870E GLACIAL has an eye-watering price of around $1,200 at least from the listings that I saw on e-tailer sites such as Newegg. That's a lot of money, but you do get a lot of board too in that regard, making this a halo product that definitely isn't going to ship in large volumes. With that, thank you so much for watching, hit the like button and get subscribed if you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys around the next time.